So I got this email today. Help with my husband, please. Needed to talk about my husband. From 1 year ago, he's been mean to me all the time. Used to be just little digs, but now he's saying real nasty stuff. Yesterday, he called me useless bee. It hurt bad. I know he's been having a hard time at work and he's been too stressed about money for months, but it's making me feel awful about myself. What can I do? How do I talk to him without making him madder? Please help, V. Well, it's pretty messed up when you really think about it. In a good relationship, you don't really see insults. But in toxic ones, especially with narcissistic people, insults are everywhere. And stress about money or kids or any other situations should not give anyone a free pass in this regard. The problem is that a lot of people don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like anymore. It's kind of sad when you think about it. So let's break down the difference between playful digs in healthy relationships versus insults as narcissistic displays of power. It's not just about calling you names. It can be putting down your abilities, like telling you you're a terrible driver or a bad mother. Or it could be about how you look or criticizing your friends and family in a way that they know affects you. The point is, it's meant to make you feel bad and small. And now, here's the thing. There's a difference between these insults and just joking around. Sometimes we tease our partner about silly stuff, right? That's not what we are talking about here. Real insults are meant to hurt. They make you feel angry or not good enough, and with enough frequency and intensity, they can make you feel depressed and even get to physical symptoms. And this is something that has become commonplace, but you can think of insults like the love language of narcissistic relationships. It's like these narcissistic people use insults to keep control and power over you. They're trying to make sure you don't get too close or feel too good about yourself. And the problem is, some people in bad relationships start to think that these hurtful insults are normal. They will say stuff like, "Why are you getting mad? I'm just telling the truth." Or, "We are in a close bonded relationship and I'm just being sincere." But that's not true at all. When you hear insults all the time, it starts to change you. You might even start to believe them. And it's common that people who had narcissistic parents often end up in relationships with narcissists later on. It's like you've gotten used to being insulted, so you think it's normal. Or you might stay in jobs where insults are just part of the workplace culture. But here's the thing, insults aren't just words. They can be in the tone of voice, body language, or even targeting your insecurities. Like if someone knows you're sensitive about how things are going at your job and they keep making comments about it, that you somehow deserve what your boss is telling you, that's an insult. And when someone insults you and then tries to play it off like it's no big deal, that's gaslighting. It's a way of messing with your head, making you doubt yourself. So what do you do if you're in a relationship where insults are common? The first thing is to recognize it for what it is. Don't try to justify it or make excuses. A good way of thinking about this is to reverse the roles in your mind. Would you be okay insulting your partner like that? Do you think it would be fair? I say that you need to reverse the roles because so many people in a toxic relationship end up believing the insults of their partner. Like you are actually stupid or inadequate or fat or whatever other remark your partner says. Reversing the roles is a way of making yourself face the reality of the situation, the actual load of the words. And living or staying in these relationships will still be up to you. But it's important to understand what's going on and have the tools to deal with it. If you decide to stay, you absolutely need to set some boundaries. But the important thing is not to convince yourself that it's okay or normal. You deserve to be in relationships where you feel respected and valued, not torn down all the time. It is not about being perfect because everyone has their quirks and annoying habits. But there's a big difference between gentle teasing and actual insults. I guess the takeaway is to pay attention to how people treat you, especially the ones closest to you. If you're constantly feeling hurt or put down, that is not okay. It doesn't matter if it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, or even a work situation. You deserve better than that. Now, when we talk about insults in relationships, we're not talking about the obvious name calling or put downs. Sometimes it can be much more subtle. It could be dismissing your opinions or belittling your achievements. These subtle insults come up with a side of manipulation. The person might insult you and then quickly follow it up with a compliment or an act of kindness. And this can leave you feeling confused and off balance. You start to doubt your own perceptions. Was it really an insult? Maybe you're just being too sensitive? And this is where it gets tricky, because in healthy relationships, we do sometimes point out things our partners could improve on. But the difference is in how it's done and the intention behind it. In a healthy relationship, criticism is constructive. It's delivered with kindness and respect, and it's aimed at helping you grow. In a narcissistic relationship, insults are used to tear you down, to keep you feeling small and dependent. And another thing to consider is how insults affect your self-esteem over time. When you're constantly being put down, even in subtle ways, it starts to chip away at your confidence. You might start to believe that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve better treatment, and this can make it harder to recognize when you're in an unhealthy situation, and even harder to leave it. And it's also worth noting that insults don't always come in the form of words, and sometimes it's about the actions. It might be constantly ignoring your needs or always putting their own wants first. It could be making important decisions without consulting you or dismissing your feelings when you try to express them. Sometimes it could be exposing you in front of friends or family to portray you as the crazy one. And in some cases, insults can escalate into more serious forms of emotional abuse. This might include things like threats, intimidation, or attempts to isolate you from friends and family. And it's important to recognize these warning signs and take them seriously. Now, let's talk about how to deal with this if you find yourself in a relationship where insults are common. The first step, as I mentioned earlier, is to recognize what is happening. Don't try to minimize it or make excuses for the other person's behavior. Next, it's important to set clear boundaries. This means communication clearly that certain types of behavior are not acceptable to you. It might sound something like, when you criticize and mock my driving, it hurts my feelings. Please stop doing that. And be prepared to enforce these boundaries, which might mean walking away from the conversation if the insults continue. It's also crucial to build up your support system. Reach out to friends, family, or a therapist. Having people who can offer an outside perspective can be incredibly valuable, and they can help you see things more clearly when you might be too close to the situation. And remember, you can't control the other person's behavior, but you can control your response to it. Do not engage in insult battles or try to escalate the situation with insults of your own. That could feel like the obvious and just choice. But if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they could use your outburst to further tell you, see, you are the crazy one. That's how you always overreact to what I say. And if you're in a relationship where insults are frequent, it might be helpful to keep a journal. Write down what has been said, how it made you feel, and any patterns you notice. This can help you see the full picture of what's happening, especially if you're dealing with more subtle forms of insults or manipulation. It's also important to work on building up your self-esteem. Engage in activities that make you feel good about yourself, set and achieve personal goals, and surround yourself with positive people who appreciate and value you. The stronger your sense of self-worth, the less likely you are to accept insulting behavior from others. And if you decide to confront the person about their insulting behavior, try to do it at a calm moment, not in the heat of an argument. Use I statements to express how their behavior affects you rather than making accusations. For example, I feel hurt when you make comments about my cooking rather than you're always insulting me. In some cases, couples therapy might be helpful. A trained therapist can help both partners communicate more effectively and work on changing unhealthy patterns. However, it's important to note that couples therapy is not recommended in situations of abuse, as it can sometimes make the situation worse. If the insults are part of a pattern of emotional abuse, it's important to prioritize your safety. This might mean making a plan to leave the relationship. There are resources available like domestic violence hotlines that can provide support and guidance to you. And remember, change in a relationship has to come from both sides. One person cannot do all the work. If your partner is unwilling to acknowledge the problem or make efforts to change, you may need to consider whether this is a relationship that you want to continue. And ultimately, you deserve to be in relationships where you feel respected, valued, and supported. Insults have no place in a healthy relationship. It's not about being perfect. We all make mistakes and say things we regret sometimes, but in a healthy relationship, these instances are rare, they're acknowledged, and there's a genuine effort to do better. This is a process to learn what healthy relationships look like, especially if you didn't have good models growing up, but it's worth the effort. When you surround yourself with people who treat you with kindness and respect, it not only improves your relationships, it improves your whole life. So take some time to reflect on your relationships. Are you being treated with the respect that you deserve? Are you treating others with that same respect? It's never too late to start building healthier relationship patterns. It might be challenging, but you are worth the effort. You deserve to feel safe, valued, and respected in your relationships. If you have any questions or experiences, you can share them in the comments, but you can also write to me at my email in the description of this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my email list where I write about this and other psychology topics daily. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Remember, much love and bliss.